Ian.
I am melting.
my poor plumaged man is, yeah.
This is the downside to your body weight being, I'm going to say 40% hair, is that when it gets hot, I become a ball of hair and grease. And it's instant and it's real unpleasant for me and everybody around me.
Yeah, I mean, essentially you are a Siberian husky living in a desert climate.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. But the other day, my 7-year-old touched my hair and he went, "Dad, your hair's greasy." And I was like, "I showered 2 hours ago."
I'm surprised Gus didn't hit you with some dry shampoo.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. And those little face wipes to get the oil off your face. Yeah. I've been using pepperonis for that. Should I not be doing that?
Yeah. If we can figure out how to do that on my face and forehead, then I think we could solve catastrophic oil spills.
Yes, it's that classic, if you can solve it for this, you can solve it for that. Yeah.
Right. If we can solve it here, then we don't have to see any more pictures of ducks soaked in oil.
Right. It's okay, sea turtles. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna dab some Dawn dish soap. I just want a video of me giving you a sponge bath, Yeah, an oily Ian. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and I both not being happy about it.
Yeah, nobody's happy with that. Yeah, It is super hot in Denver, and my office is not air conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Regretting that decision.
Well, if only we knew some amazing HVAC guy. Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, besides melting, how are you doing?
I am good. Busy, but good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, doing well, buddy. Doing well. Yeah, I've been beeping my Fiat around town. Been doing a little bit of work. I did a smoke test on my Fiat. If you want to get into some garage updates.
I would love to.
Okay, yeah, I did.
Is it smoking, or has it quit? Does it use a patch? Is it gum? What did it do? Cold turkey situation?
Now I have to put a Zyn in every half hour on the underside of the front fender. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so PETA had the great idea that I should really chase down any check engine codes and stuff like that before throwing the Euro compulsion tune on the Nuggie, right? Good idea, great. And I actually found a small tear in a silicone hose that could have been contributing to a tiny manifold boost leak. But I am still getting this boost taper issue, and I don't know if it's if it's over boosting or what's going on. Where when I'm driving around, and it seems to be more prominent when it's hot. So when I'm driving around, I'll, get on the throttle and the boost will kick up to about 15, 18 PSI, and then it'll drop down to 10 PSI, and then it'll come back to full boost, through the course of a pull, right? And it's it seems more ECU than it does boost leaky, because if it was boost leaky, it would, if it was something that was dropping because the pressure was causing something to open up, I don't think it would consistently close in the exact same manner and rhythm every time and go back to full pressure and hold it there. Right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so it's wah, and then it'll stay in full boost through kind of the rest of the pull. And so it's a weird hesitation that I do think is ECU related.
Is it electronic boost control on that car?
Yes, it is. It is. So there's a throttle body relearn process that you can do. So I'm going to do that. And this, whatever it is, it's probably at the root of the check engine code that has been plaguing me. The one that popped on when I was less than a mile from my house to go pick you up for our 500th episode. Yeah. P1CEA. I have it emblazoned in my head. And so I think I may just try throwing the Euro compulsion tune on there, because you can turn it on and off, like you have the stock settings as one thing. See if it gets worse or anything like that with it running a tune and kind of going from there. So yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, right? But, but the smoke test, I got like the Amazon smoke tester, I think for like $35 or something like that, maybe $50. The smoke fluid doesn't come with it, so I had to wait an extra day for that. And it's just like kind of like a mineral oily kind of fluid. Mm-hmm. And it just, you throw that on there, dude, this is a clutch tool, man. We're going to be able to chase down so many issues because of this. Because having this tool, it is nice, man. Nice.
That's really cool. So how big was the leak that you found? Was it just like a little tear?
Yeah, it was a little tear on a silicon vacuum line where there was probably a little bit of maybe a hose clamp kind of caught it wrong when the hose clamp was like turning, and it just tore the silicon line. Yeah. Was
it on the boost side or pre-boost side?
It was on the air intake side. Yeah. So air intake before the turbo. But I'm going to check from the intercooler or, from the turbo all the way down to the throttle body next. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the next thing I'm going to do, just in case there's anything on that side.
Yeah.
So, right. Yeah.
Cars. So fun.
Yep. But dude, I switched my suspension into sport mode. I got that jack that goes on my lift that is like the roller jack that can pick up an axle at a time. Did I tell you that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, dude. It's amazing, Ian.
Yeah.
I had the Nuggie kind of picked up, not all the way up, but like slid the jack under the rear axle, picked it up on the jack points, put a bottle jack underneath it to kind of compress the suspension a little bit on that like torsion bar. I had the rear shock. It took me longer to turn the shocks into the position I wanted than it did for me to unbolt stuff to get them off.
That's awesome.
Dude, it was so great. Yeah. Like taking the wheels off was the longest part of the process.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I am so lucky to have that lift. It is. Oh my God. Yeah. And that roller jack weighs like 350 pounds. 4 people lifted it into the back of my Lexus at the place that I got the lift from. And I drove home and I was like, how the fuck am I going to get this out of the back of my car?
Yeah.
Pappy still has an engine hoist in his garage. So I used the engine hoist to get it out, to get it over to the lift. And that's how I moved a 350-pound thing by myself.
And that's how you got the engine hoist in there out of your car too, is you used an engine hoist. Yes. Get the engine hoist out of your car.
Yes, this is a classic mongoose, tiger shark, bear solution. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, dude, yeah, when we do the work on the Volkswagen for the Lemons team, being able to lift up the front of the car with that roller jack to do transmission work, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so great. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, been driving the Fiat like crazy. Yeah. So that's about it. What was I going to tell you? There was one other Fiat thing. I can't remember, Ian. But I met up with our buddy Lenny that you've been karting with. His cousin has a sprint car, like a concrete track for the Colorado National Speedway sprint stuff. And I'm looking at setting up some live streaming stuff for them as well. So
cool.
Yeah. So talk to him. There's no room in those cars, man. Dude. And have you been up close to a sprint car?
No, not really.
Oh,
no, I've only seen pictures really.
They're insane. And I have some cards for you and the kids because you and I are going to have to go watch a race. And most of the teams have cards that they printed up so that you can have the driver sign them, and stuff like that. Nice. And they'll take pictures. They'll put the kids in the car and let them take pictures and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, we need to go to a circle track event. Yeah. Excited to see something like that.
So where do you have a place to put it, or do you have more constraints than you do with the Lemons car?
Way more constraints than with the Lemons car. So I think what we're going to end up doing, the only space that is really kind of usable is the space between the back of the driver's seat and the fuel cell. And the fuel cell has like that contoured shape. The only other space is up in the very, very front. And like, there's no way you could get like a battery going up there or something like that. So I think the solution is an older laptop that you just top up AC wise between the sprint races. Because you could just plug in the laptop power adapter between races. If a race goes longer than an hour because of cautions and stuff like that, they call it.
Okay.
They run like a super tight schedule with those kinds of things. So
the other problem is, correct me if I'm wrong, those cars crash into each other fairly often, right?
A lot. Yes. You kind of want some durable and or disposable equipment on there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so behind the driver's seat, there's a portion of the roll cage. And I talked to them about, my buddy Lenny's cousin is named Josh. And so I talked to Josh and some of the guys that work on the car with him about like the tech inspection and stuff like that. So like that I'm able to roll that kind of like Lemon's knowledge over to that, and it's tracking pretty good. So
cool.
Tracking. Yeah. It's nuts. I have not felt so Missouri since we drove that Dodge Power Wagon. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm standing in front of his garage with two sprint cars, side by side, like right up against each other in the garage. The tires are like so crazy wide, like, 1.5 feet wide. And like, I was like, oh my God, I just want barbecue and catfish right now. Like, I feel so freaking Missouri.
Well, I was going to say, like, what is the tech inspection at a sprint race? Is it just, that looks fun? Like, that's pretty much it? Or is it?
It's legit. So basically anything that all stuff can be bolted onto the car and stuff like that, but it has to be bolted. Anything that has the potential to fall off has to have the car number on it. Yeah. And so they're so stripped down, there's no transmission. It's direct drive. Mm-hmm. They have a seating position almost like my Abarth, like almost sitting up. It's wild. You wouldn't think that, but you sit really upright in a sprint car. And there was, let's see, what was it? So for the tech, so you have to meet a minimum weight of 1650, and they have different weights if you're running that race with wings or without wings. Some of them are run without, some with. And so they have to meet the minimum weight. They just make sure that everything is securely bolted. I don't even know if the vehicle has a kill switch. I didn't see something immediately visible. Yeah. And the only power on the car is a 9-volt battery, like smoke detector 9-volt battery, to just power the LEDs behind a few analog gauges.
Oh, wow.
They don't run an alternator, nothing.
They don't run an alternator?
No.
So they just have a 12-volt battery to run spark?
No, they don't have a 12-volt battery. It's the old cap and rotor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, they have a generator on it. So
yeah.
They pop start it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. They push start it.
Basically. They push start it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Yeah.
Well, but if it's direct drive, there's a clutch on that direct drive? I don't know. There's no transmission. I don't think so. Huh.
Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah. I'd have to check.
Yeah. There must be some way to engage neutral then, right? Like they can't just.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to them.
They have to really come to a stop.
Right. Yeah. And they have massive brakes on those cars. Yeah.
That's wild.
So I think his cousin has 4 more races this season, 4 or 5. There's some races over the 4th of July weekend. Yeah. But yeah. So I looking forward to kind of learning more about the sprint car stuff. I was like, what's that do? What's that do?
Right.
Like for the wing, like that big, like Tetris shaped wing, right? Tetris piece shaped wing. They have a hydraulic or a adjuster like you would have on like a sway bar or something like that you can turn and it'll threaded rods kind of extend or contract. And so you can actually dial in the angle of the wing to change the balance of the car as like given like the wind or, like whatever, like, are you lower on fuel? Are the tires doing this? Like, is the asphalt surface like doing that? Do you want a little more grip? You need it to be more loose. And so like you can dial in manually, like the angle of that wing to change that. Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
Really cool.
Yeah. And the steering is just linkage like a go-kart. It is. There's no rack and pinion or anything like that. It's crazy.
Wild.
Yeah. I would imagine. And the whole thing is just like offset because it's designed to go in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I would imagine it is so hard to like, if you really wanted to turn it like in a parking lot or something, it would be crazy difficult with like just giant wide tires. Yeah.
Man, that sounds nuts.
Dude, just being close to that thing is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just like standing near it is rad. I can't even imagine like puttering it around in a parking lot. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Well, that'd be cool. I'm excited to hear more about trying to get some technology into the world's fastest tractor, essentially.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. But that's what I've been up to car wise,
Nice. What should we talk about today?
Yes, Ian, I think that you had a great idea to extend our RMDE coverage into this episode as well, because last week we talked about Stellantis and
previously on Apex Adjacent.
Exactly. Stellantis's bizarro offerings between the Wagoneer SEV and the Dodge Daytona or Dodge Charger Daytona. Am I saying that correctly?
I think so. That sounds right. Let's go with that.
BEV? What does the B stand for in EV?
Oh, I know this.
Yeah.
We should know this.
We should know this. I'm going to take a sip of
breakthrough. No, battery electric vehicle.
Battery electric vehicle. Okay. Because I've seen people call it an EV or a BEV.
Yes.
So there you go. Okay. Versus like a hydrogen fuel cell or something like that.
Right.
Yes. And our very wild walkaways from our experience with those two vehicles and talking about the corporate kind of like influence, the design structure where people were probably most likely pulling resources from one team all to another, like designed by committee, not et cetera, and how it dovetails into what we wanted to talk about next.
Yeah, I think the segue here is that those two cars taken together felt like a company sort of like fighting with itself a little bit. Like it was conflict within the company that you could see laid out in the driving experience of those two cars. And then the car that we're going to talk about today feels like everybody is moving the same direction. Like there's one thing that we're going to do and we're going to execute it well, and we're all going to work together. It's the IONIQ. I have lots of thoughts on this, but I am curious to get your thoughts first, because I feel like I'm going to be effusive about this and talk a lot, but I want to get your thoughts first.
Okay. I think that the IONIQ 9 was a vehicle in the context of the day was a very welcome breath of fresh air. You and I drove it kind of a little bit earlier in the day when we were still trying to figure out, like, are we going to be able to get into like the McLaren and, these other cars?
Right.
And it was something that we identified as, we would absolutely like to drive this, please. This is a car that we're going to prioritize. And I'm glad that we did. And I'm glad we got to do it so early. And I felt like it was a relaxing drive. It was super pleasant to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And I got it. Like, this is their 6 or 7 seater, right? And it's a big car, family car. And I really enjoyed it. It handled well, all the potholes and everything, So yeah, I really dug it. And I'm sure I'll have more to say about it, but I think that it's one of those cars that, like, there was nothing negative about it. It did everything that we wanted well, besides the thing that we're going to talk about, right? But it kind of almost faded into the background, but in a good way. Like, oh, I don't have to manage anything with this. I don't feel compelled to gripe about this, or that there were, I don't get any sense of friction from the development of this translated into what I'm experiencing in the vehicle right now.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I keep thinking about is actually, I think about this car and the McLaren together, kind of versus our experience of the two Stellantis cars.
Okay.
In that, I think that the experience of this car and driving the McLaren were very similar in that it felt like, oh, this is what this technology is for. Like, this is what all of this development and everything has been building towards. And also it's built to do a thing, and it does that thing really, really well. If that thing is not what you want, then don't buy the car, right? Exactly. It's not trying to be all things to all people and all that, right? It's very functional and very and it took opportunities wherever it could to meet that function, right? Like the way that the back seats are designed, with there's charge ports everywhere, and the adjustability of the back seats and everything else. It's all where the storage stuff is very expressly for a family who's going to live in this car, Yeah. And so I just think it just feels very well executed. It's fast without being obnoxious about it,
or frightening.
Or frightening. Yeah. It feels really well sorted. For such a big car, it handles really, really well. Yeah, I do not have enough good things to say about this car. It is excellent.
Yeah. I think it looks amazing, that rear thing, almost like Amazon delivery truck / Volvo wagon. Like you mash those two things together to get those taillights.
Yeah. With the vaporwave little squares.
Yes. Yes. A Hyundai styling that I feel like we'll get to later in the show, but because I definitely want to talk about their styling. I think this is one of the times where, well, let's come back to the styling, because I have a styling thing. But
okay.
So talk people through kind of like you and I kind of are driving, because we were initially, I was driving or you were driving and I was in the passenger seat, and then we kind of mixed things up because it's a bigger car.
And we should also explain, in years past, we've had history with large cars in particular and windy roads. In that, I have made Dave sick on numerous occasions. With my erratic and slapdash driving. And Dave was very resistant to getting into the back of this car. But I knew as soon as we saw it, one of us is going to have to be in the back of this thing at some point, because it looks so comfy. And that's the whole point of this car, is that you're going to have people in the back. So if nobody sits in the back, then it's not a test of the car.
Exactly.
It'd be like idling the McLaren and then getting out.
Exactly. Right? Yes.
It is. Yeah. Like Dave said, it's a 7-seater. It's very big. I think I drove first. Yes. You sat in the front seat, and then I insisted on getting in the back.
Yes.
And so we stopped to take pictures and stuff, and then I got in the back, and there was even more buttons for me to push back there, which I was excited about.
Button boy was into it. Yes.
Button boy. Yeah. And what were your thoughts about, did you end up getting in the back at all?
I did, because you promised not to toss me around.
Oh, that's right. I had to promise to behave myself. And I think I did.
You did. You did very well.
Thank you. We can stop recording now. That was the whole point of this episode, was just for me to get a compliment.
Yes, the thing that you always seek from me, a compliment. Also, the thing that I have always withheld from you.
Yeah, you're so
story.
withholding with your compliments.
Aren't I though? Aren't I though? Yeah.
What did you think about the back? Because I really liked it, but I am child sized, so I was built to be in the back. How was it as a 6'4" person?
Oh, it was fantastic. Like, it was one of those cars where you realize, like, you know, as a taller person, like, there's like a scale. It's like, okay, I'm back here, or I can't even, this isn't even an option.
Yeah.
Then I am back here, like, I need to see a chiropractor.
Right.
I am back here. This is okay if we're just like cramming people in a car to run like 2 or 3 miles away to a coffee shop, a movie, whatever.
Right. I'll be back here, but there better be some fucking ice cream at the end of this trip.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm back here longer, like hours is not an issue. And then finally, like, I could live back here. Right. It was the second to last one. Hours, not an issue at all. Great leg room. I could, since the middle row had 2 captain's chairs.
Yeah.
So I could do the thing that I do when I'm forced into a coach seat on an airplane, where I can just put my legs into the aisle and then keep an AirPod out so that when the drink cart tray comes by, I know to move my legs without them saying, excuse me. Right. Because I do not want to be that guy that is, the aisle is not my seat. But when people see me, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's fine. As long as he's not an ass about it.
Right.
You know?
Meanwhile, if I'm hanging out in the aisle, they're like, come on, get it.
What are you doing, buddy?
Just put yourself in the seat back pocket and move on.
We get that you need to air it out, especially in this climate.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, the back seat was amazing. And like having the captain's chairs is a game changer for leg room and just like, I don't know, I get super fidgety and stuff, you know me. And just being able to kind of like fidget around and not feel so claustrophobic back there. Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. It does have the thing, which is great for towing, like having adults in the back seat.
Yeah.
But bad for if you have children, which is you can get to the buttons for the passenger, the front passenger seat from the back to adjust the leg room.
Yes.
I will say that my children would 100% be playing with that for 8 straight hours on any road trip. So,
you know, we have seen some interesting kind of stuff where, I'm going to stop the video because I like seeing the interior because the interior is really pretty, but it is distracting to me. Where what was it? A Pacifica that we drove where there was just a mute button, like very obvious on the center console for the radio stack, right?
Yeah.
It would be really interesting to see if there were software options to turn on whether or not those buttons work. Because I'm sure that we cannot be the only people who have people in the car that would mess with those buttons and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would also think, and this is a tangent that just popped into my head. So here we go.
Yeah.
I also wonder if because I do think that a lot of these features that are kind of slowly making their way into cars that are more like clearly designed around people with families. It's like it's a good example of like why a more diverse workforce and like giving people parental leave is a good idea, because then they come back and they're like, oh, people will use this in the real world with families. And I know my kids are little monsters and I need to like mute the radio and tell them to shut up sometimes, whatever it is. I don't know. It just seems like these sorts of things would not have entered most automotive engineers like brains 40 years ago, right?
No,
because they weren't taking care of the children.
You're exactly right. Like, would WeatherTech floor mats be what they are if it wasn't for like people spilling things in there? Sure, I get like muddy shoes and all weather like snow and stuff like that. But to be able to put like a gallon of milk in like one of those WeatherTech floor mats, because when we were at the Lemons race, I caught that there were some beverages sitting on the floor of the back of your Volkswagen, right? And you probably would have been okay because I think you have those better floor mats back there, right?
I do, yeah.
Why do you have those back there, Ian?
Oh yeah, because I have little monsters, yeah. And to be fair, I'm saying that they're little monsters. I put those drinks there because I had forgotten I had to give my parents the booster seats, and so they had drinks in their booster seats, so I had to like put them down someplace, and I just put them on the floor because I was like sprinting across the paddock with booster seats in my hand.
Okay, but still, if you would have driven off, those would have spilled, but you would have been okay.
Yes,
right.
That's true. Yeah,
and yeah, like you're right. Like those developments and ideas come from real world exposure. Yeah.
I didn't know when did this become a corporate consultant podcast? Like what's happened?
I think it always has been. I mean, honestly,
we need to up our hourly rate, Dave.
We do. I think that my pattern recognition engine has just really been firing. I mean, remember forever ago, I went on a rant about the television show The Office and how the company that bought Dunder Mifflin was analogous to HP.
Yeah, Sabre
for so many points. Sabre, yes. So yeah, that's always been there. I think it's just coming out more because we're immersing ourselves in the outcomes of these, or in the products of these corporate, structures in a thing like RMDE.
No, that's true. Yeah. Well, and I think it's also, you talk to the marketing people that come along to these events, and you do it kind of like, I don't think they mean to, obviously, but you can kind of see the seams of like, here's the difference between how, like they see it internally, they want people to see it, and how it's being received, right? Like,
yes.
And those are all three different things. And I think anyone who's worked for a large corporate entity knows that that's always the case with any product they're offering or whatever it is. Like there's the company line, and then there's what the customers think, but then there's also what the employees think.
Yes.
And you can sometimes see the gears turning as they reconcile what they think with what they're supposed to say, and then them knowing what you think about it, Yes. And I think that's really interesting to see, especially since we're not like in it all the time, to like kind of drop in and see it as like sort of an outsider every once in a while.
Right.
I think those differences show up maybe a little bit more because we're not used to like, oh, this is just a phrase that everybody in the automotive marketing world uses,
Agreed. You're exactly right. We are interlopers in these environments occasionally. And it is really interesting to see the pattern of language and kind of like how, like there are jobs. And as we evolve in our careers, it's like, oh, this person is able to do this job in this way.
Right.
Right. And seeing the corporate kind of the representation for the products, like directly in front of the products as you're experiencing, giving you kind of like what the organization wants you to see, every now and then something kind of leaking through about what they think.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And when you have multiple people from the same company, either it is like that company has their, like, we are unified, like really good parents, right? Where, yes, we are a united front against these monsters,
Yep.
Or it is like, well, I'm going to go talk to dad because he lets me light matches and, Yeah. Those kinds of things. So it is really interesting to see. Yeah. And I know we're going to have more to say about like when we talk about Subaru and some other stuff that we'll probably throw into like a mixtape. But when Hyundai presents these things, we just feel like it is a very, very refined product that they're delivering from Genesis, Kia, Hyundai, etc.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the representatives from the company don't have a hard time. Like, they're not trying to sell you something. Like, it is not like you don't get a snake oily vibe. It's like, this is good. We did a good thing. Here you go. Like,
well, and it's focused, right? There's like a clarity of purpose, right? Where like, this is the direction that this is what we were aiming for. And we got as close to the pin as we could, like it doesn't have to, it's not perfect, but at least it's not trying to do 5 different things at once.
Yes.
Or trying to drag some outmoded idea into the present day, right? It feels of its time, and it feels well executed. And I think that's sort of like the feeling that you get in this car versus especially the Charger, right? Where like,
yes,
they're trying to make something that's of the moment, but feels and sounds and everything like it's from a different moment, and it ends up not working because you're working at cross purposes, right? You could feel the tension in the company in the driving experience, and I think here they probably had a set of like 5 goals, and they hit 4 of them, and it feels amazing because right.
It also feels like there was no anxiety from Hyundai about the reception of this vehicle. Right. Where I sensed with the Dodge Charger EV that they are doing things to get in front of things that they know people will either not like, complain about, light up Reddit and message boards about. It is a like, they are making a move first to try to beat a reactionary thing, to head it off at the pass or prevent it from happening.
It's a preemptive breakup.
Yes.
It's a preemptive breakup text.
Yes.
Is what it is.
Yes. Right? It is.
Yeah. It's starting off your email in a defensive crouch.
Yes.
You ever done that? I've done that on accident. Like,
yes.
Like, okay, I know this has been a stressful day, right? Instead of just starting with your intent of what you want done,
what you need,
you start addressing their arguments at first
that they may not have even expressed yet.
Right, but you've already in the shower gone through all of their arguments in your head.
Yes,
yes, that's exactly what it is.
You have wrestled with the straw man already.
Yes. And I've also gotten those emails and been like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know what conversations happened before with me, but I wasn't there for it.
Exactly. And I don't feel like anything remotely like that happened with the Hyundai.
Yeah.
But you could definitely get a sense that was happening with the Dodge, that preemptive confrontation or conflict avoidance. So we do need to talk about the issue that we do have with this vehicle.
There's 2 big issues with this car. And that is the lack of sliding doors. These are in the rear, traditional swing out doors that are fucking enormous. And the car would be immeasurably better if it had sliding doors. This is a minivan.
It is.
It looks like a minivan. The inside is laid out like a minivan.
It serves the purpose of a minivan.
It's a minivan.
It is.
But for some reason, I think corporate America has got it in their heads that people won't buy minivans. And I think that the data kind of bears that out. But also, like, it would be better if it was a minivan.
It would be. You and I both agree on that. Unfortunately, sales figures are what they are. And I think that the sales figures of the Kia Carnival were the determining factor of whether or not this was going to have sliding doors. I don't know anything about the development of this vehicle, if it would or it wouldn't, But if I was to put myself in Hyundai's shoes, the sales figures of the Kia Carnival is absolutely a piece on that decision-making board.
The difference is that the Kia Carnival is not an especially good car.
It is though. It's
fine. It's fine. It's not the best minivan I've ever driven, like gas-powered minivan.
Right.
Like I would say the Pacifica is better.
Sure.
I would say the Odyssey is better.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, I mean, but right now, this is the only EV minivan.
You are correct. Let's compare Kia Carnival sales to, what do you want to compare them to?
Do Honda Odyssey.
Oh, God.
Oh, another minivan? You mean an SUV?
Whatever you want, right?
Do a Hyundai Santa Fe.
Okay. Santa Fe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. Do I want the dumb AI mode? No, I'll figure out the data myself. Thank you. Let's see here. Kia Carnival, in what year is this? The year to date change. Yeah, 2024. Year to date, they sold 27,000.
28,000.
28,000 cars, right?
Yeah.
The Santa Fe is not listed on here. Oh, yes, it is. The Santa Fe sold 55,000.
Yeah.
And the Odyssey? Oh, the Toyota Sienna was right below that. ODY. Yeah, the Honda Odyssey, 40,000. The Toyota Sienna, 44,000. So the Carnival does not sell well.
Right. But again, I think because it's it's in a more crowded field in which it doesn't really like stand out in any way.
You're exactly right.
So it's not, I understand that. And every article that I've read about the IONIQ 9 also talks about this, this idea that the Carnival is why they didn't put sliding doors in. But it doesn't seem like an apples to apples comparison to me.
Right, because I think the Carnival was trying to be a minivan that was not a minivan by design.
Mm-hmm.
This was like the styling, the weird Kia logo that looks like an N.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It was trying to be not a minivan. They were kind of trying to make like something that seemed like not a minivan, but it was like Uncanny Valley, like not SUV, but like it does look luxurious. It almost kind of looks more like a hearse than it does an SUV, right? So I think that did not do it any favors. The sliding doors were not it was not a selling point enough that it was overcoming, like those other odd things about it, unfortunately.
Well, if you're in the market if you were a year ago before the IONIQ 9 came out, if you were looking for a 7-seat car,
mm-hmm.
You were cross shopping minivans versus SUVs, right? But
yes.
now you're going after a totally separate market, which is like people who want an EV as a family car and also need 7 seats.
Yes.
Right. And you're now like the only one with a product.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would have argued that they could do whatever the fuck they wanted, but
you're right.
They should have just made the doors as good as they could be because they're first to market. And so they get to set the terms of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they blinked.
They did. I think that this vehicle is going to sell gangbusters, but it could be better. It could be better.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's pretty damn good as it is.
It is. Sliding doors, buddy.
Yeah.
Sliding doors. I do want to get back to the design piece and kind of Hyundai design overall. Yeah. So if you could just kind of give me your overall impressions of like past Hyundai design and kind of where Hyundai is design wise today.
Well, I mean, there's the bad old days.
Right.
The bad old days of like the early aughts.
The Scoop and things like that.
20 years ago. Oh,
the
man.
The Hyundai Excel.
Yeah. Oh, pretty dire. Pretty dire. The Tiburon wasn't terrible.
No, the Tiburon was weird and cool.
It was kind of weird and cool looking, kind of funky.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of really unfortunate designs for a long time.
Right.
But this, like all the EV design language, I really like.
Yes.
Especially on the Hyundai side, like I think that the IONIQ 6 is so like funky and French looking, and I love the IONIQ 5. I love all of the Hyundai EVs. I think they all look really cool. And they just seem like uncompromised. They don't seem like they were, because they feel like they're starting from a clean sheet. It's not like they need to call back to the glory days of the early 2000s. You know, they're trying to forget that shit, and they're trying to not be associated with that. And it means that they can do whatever they want. Just pretty cool.
I am super excited that you used the word clean sheet, because this is what I want to talk about with Hyundai.
Okay.
I feel like for a lot of their things, they're not using a clean sheet of paper.
Oh.
Yes. Like to a point that I kind of look down on them a little bit when it comes to some design.
Because you think they're copying things, or because they are borrowing stuff from their past?
Copying things.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Okay. So what was it? The Kia Sorento that was kind of like look like a Jaguar, or what was the sedan? Right, there was that. That was, we put that more in like the Old Testament, the bad days.
Yeah, that was part of the bad old days, I would say. Yes.
Okay, I'm glad.
It was supposed to kind of look like an S class if you got hit on the head, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I think that we still have a problem in Hyundai with this, and let me present some evidence. Okay. All right. Let's see here. It is in our current show folder. Let me go back here. Okay. Okay. Ian, I would like you to think of the IONIQ 6.
Okay.
Because I saw a car when I was driving around the other day that I realized where they got the design from.
Okay.
Okay. So here, let's pull up an IONIQ 6. Here we go. Specifically the rear. Okay. I feel very strongly that this is aped from an Infiniti.
An Infiniti? I was going to say like Mercedes EQS or something.
No, the Infiniti J30.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let me, I put together a side by side.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Here's the IONIQ 6.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the J30. I saw a J30 when I was driving around.
Yeah. My grandpa used to have one.
That sheet of paper wasn't quite clean.
Well, no, I mean, okay. Yeah, but I when I say clean sheet of paper, I don't mean that they don't.
Right.
Because I think like.
You can bring influences in.
Right. To borrow our constant analogy of music to cars. Like, people take influence and borrow things and whatever. And I think that that's honestly good. Like it's how things keep moving. That's what makes food interesting. That's what makes art interesting. It kind of like moves the culture forward, because you're like, oh, I kind of recognize that as a thing that I liked, but it's not the same. I don't think that this example, which is a good spot, I will give you that.
Thank you. This is not a David Bowie, Queen under pressure, Vanilla Ice scenario.
Right. Or even like a new Beatles scenario where you're trying to like remix something that already existed.
Correct.
Right. It's like a pastiche, right? Where like you can see some J30 in the IONIQ 6. You can also see some Citroen DS in them,
Correct.
right? And I think a few other things. I think like the tail, like the dot matrix thing is like very like 300ZX too. Like there's a lot of different influences in there, and I think that's what most designers and artists do, right?
I don't hate them for it. I just wish it wasn't quite as obvious because, I mean, look at that. Like the taillights coming to such a point, the turn signals, like it's in the exact same place.
That's interesting. I never would have put that together, but you're totally right.
I am. And so this has been a trend with Hyundai for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I have two other examples. The new Santa Fe, of course, I feel like is very, very Land Rover adjacent.
Which was, ripped off from Willys or whatever.
Correct. Yes, this is kind of like
again, like music. You can play this game
right
all the way back to Scott Joplin doing The Entertainer, or whatever, right?
Yes.
Like it's all. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like if anything is a reference to the Amen brake in vehicle design, it's going to be that like Jeep Willys Land Rover design, right? And then lastly, I think that the BMW M1 and DeLorean, I think had kind of equal parts in this, right?
Yeah. But also like they're like headed like isn't there like a former like big wig at BMW at Hyundai now? Like that also part of it, I think.
Maybe, like the hits you were playing over there, like give us a spin on those over here. I don't know. I feel kind of weird about this. Like I like seeing influences from other things, and I myself am influenced by tons of other folks. The whole live stream that I did and putting all that together was so heavily influenced by the folks over at Temerity that, like I do not hesitate to give them credit for that. But I think that when it comes to viewing a vehicle and seeing like design cues from another vehicle, it's tough. Like they can't give credit. They can't pay tribute. Don't like have liner notes. Right. There's no special thanks. So my mind just goes to kind of like I don't know. I don't go to like their copying and pasting styles. It's just, I don't know. I feel a little funny about it.
I think I'm with you on the Santa Fe.
Okay.
The Santa Fe one feels like a little strange to me. In this, because it does seem like such a Land Rover rip off, but also like that's sort of just where the design language is going. So maybe they're all going to look like that in a few years. I'm less with you on the IONIQ 6 because I do feel like that's like one element in an overall look that still looks of a whole, right? It doesn't look like someone designed a car and then was like, it would be great. Infiniti J30 taillights. Right. Like it all works by itself if you've never seen that before.
It does, but I do feel like if you take from the waistline up, it is, and ignore everything waist down, it is way more J30 than it is anything else.
Yeah. Not a good relationship advice.
Only handle stuff from the waist up.
Waist up, ignore everything waist down. Don't do that.
That's your lovemaking technique?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I agree with you. I think it's still a great design, and I think people borrow from each other all the time. I mean, if you look at the guy Giugiaro, who did like the Golf and like all that stuff, like his influence was felt for decades, right? And it's just, I think that's just how art works. Like people borrow from each other and do little things, and I don't think it's quite like a direct ripoff. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, like it on that vehicle, on the IONIQ 6, it works. It looks great. But if I hadn't seen I have always thought like, oh, that reminds me of a J30. And then I saw a J30, because when do you see those anymore?
Right. Yeah.
Right. I saw a J30 in this exact color, in the champagne gold beige.
Because that's how 90% of them were. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, okay, so here's where I think the line is. I think it's like car stance, right? Where it's like, who is this for? Because I think what they're doing with the Santa Fe is to present the idea that you're driving around in something much more like statusy than you are. Right?
Yeah, statusy, capable, etc.
Yes, it's trying to get at those things that Land Rover represents in people's like subconscious, right?
I agree. Yeah.
And I think the example with the Infiniti J30 is, first of all, where there's like 6 people on the planet who would catch that those are J30 taillights. And even fewer that would think it's a big deal. Right. Right. So I think it's just like, I think it's okay because they're not trying to, like, nobody's trading on the Infiniti J30
right. This
reputation.
This is not a sought after commodity.
Right. They're not tapping a rich vein in the zeitgeist.
In a way, that's almost worse, though, because it's like, then you're kind of punching down. Like you stole
you could argue you're bringing it back. You're like,
you stole a thing from a failed vehicle, a weird looking failed vehicle. And you're like, nobody's going to notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to know. Nobody's going to know. I'm going to make that like Instagram reel with that audio for like a J30 and an IONIQ 6. Yeah, nobody's going to know. They're going to know.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of cars
Nissan is fucking criminal at this.
Borrow stuff and
look at the Saab 900 NG and the Nissan SX 200 SX. You will. Yeah. They are the same car. Fucking Nissan. Yeah. I love Nissan, but they absolutely stole the design and shrunk it. They put it in the dryer. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Like, you know how my pattern recognition fires. This is a core element of my being. And so I could not talk about Hyundai without talking about the IONIQ 6 and the J30. So there you go.
Well, I like it. That's an amazing.
Thank you.
Song.
Thank you. Okay.
Dave, should we wrap this up with an album of the week?
Yes, we should.
Okay. I would like to, like I did last week, where I tried to have an album where we did like 2 albums that kind of fit the cars.
Yes.
I want to do an album now that I think fits with the clarity of purpose narrative that I had thought about for the Hyundai.
Not the J30? You didn't want
the J30.
Oh, okay.
No, if I had to pick an album for the J30, it'd be like a Velvet Underground record, right? It'd be apparently very, it'd be like super.
It turns out it's way more influential. Exactly.
But nobody bought it.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, no, I want to do an old banger of a record. It's one of my favorite classic rock records of all time. We're going to go Who's Next by The Who.
Okay.
I would say it is front to back one of the more perfect rock records that exist. Okay. It is very there's a very like clear line throughout the whole thing. It's very like condensed down because the whole story behind it was like it was going to be this big sprawling rock opera, and then funding ran out or whatever happened, and they ended up shrinking it down to like 10 songs. Okay. And it's just like distilled, just classic rock perfection. Every song on this record.
Okay.
Like 80% of it is singles.
Yes. Okay.
It's got Bob O'Reilly, aka Teenage Wasteland. Mm-hmm. It's got It's got Won't Get Fooled Again, Behind Blue Eyes, Going Mobile, like all these songs you've definitely heard a million times. But again, it just feels like we did a thing, we're doing it. And It's got one flaw, which is some gender dynamics that haven't aged super well on John Entwistle's track. So those will be my sliding doors. That's my sliding doors track.
The omission of sliding doors represented in the Who's next album.
Yeah.
Okay. Feel free to skip that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's a great song. Just if you listen to the lyrics, it's like, not great.
Understood.
But yeah, I also thought like it wasn't like the most like revolutionary sound or anything at the time. It does sound fucking huge though. Keith Moo's drums are amazing on it. And he had some like kind of Pete Townsend had a lot of like kind of cutting edge synthesizer work and stuff on it. So there was some like also element of moving things forward.
Okay. Gotcha.
So that's why I thought it was a good fit.
Right. Not bleeding edge technology, but like using the best kind of
using cutting edge technology to do something mass market. That's what EV9 is doing too.
There you go.
I keep saying
that's okay. Christ. That's because it's the Kia EV9 and the Hyundai. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. But that's a great correlation, Ian.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So links to the Who's official website will be in the iTunes description or in the YouTube description and iTunes and Spotify for sure.
Yeah. Everybody go ahead and pirate this one. I think they're fine.
The Who's doing just fine.
The Who is fine.
They're fine. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Both of them that are still alive are fine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Dave, I think we done did it.
We did. We talked. Well, look at us, journalisming more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 720-515-1391, apexadjacent at Gmail. I'm going to go find some air conditioning because I am sweating my balls off. You're going to tell your children, don't do this, and then you're going to get in your refrigerator.
Yes, correct. Everybody, thank you. We love you. Goodbye.